Coming up, the Folksel goes retro, AHawk spreads a little culture, and Facebook's back. Plus, 007 gets a reboot. Looking at the present to predict the future is something that an airographer's mate does every day when it comes to the weather. Petty Officer Isaac Needleman tells us about one AG who looked at her life in the present and wanted to forecast a better future. So she raised her right hand and took an oath to serve her country.
The sky's the limit. At least that's how aerographers made second class Elizabeth Clements sees it, as she predicts the weather for Carrier Strike Group 1. Figuring out if it's going to be sunny or cloudy with a chance of rain involves a lot of science that only an AG would know.
Just writing my forecast, I had to figure out the dynamics of pressure systems to figure out what the winds are going to do and if it's going to rain or anything like that. So, the direction they're coming from helps me verify my forecast.
But before she could tell the forecast, she had to make a personal change, which meant leaving her lifestyle in college.
I decided to join because I was just partying a lot and I needed to get my life back on track, and it seemed like a good way to do it. Record like what the winds are and what the visibility is.
At first, she wanted to go Army, but once she saw how a Navy chief took care of his own, the choice was easy.
When I went and took my ASVAB, I took it for the Army, and my recruiter didn't show up. And the Navy chief was there with all of his recruits, and they took me out to dinner, and just seeing how he was interacting with everybody made me want to switch back to the Navy.
5.5 years later, she's leading junior sailors and preparing briefs for Carrier Strike Group 1's commander, and her parents couldn't be prouder.
Very intensely. Every day they tell me how much I've changed since I joined the Navy, and they think it really was a good step for me to take and turn my life back around and figure out what I was going to do.
And her actions inspired someone she grew up with.
And now my brother joined the Air Force, so to turn his life around.
Whether it's predicting the weather, motivating junior sailors, or inspiring her family members, it all started with Clements taking control of her life. Reporting for the 70, I'm Petty Officer Isaac Needleman.
What's your most memorable moment while being aboard USS Carl Vinson? First day reporting aboard? Maybe being on the flight deck supporting Operation Enduring Freedom? Re-enlisting in the Folksel? Whatever it is, this ship will live on forever in your memories. And now sailors have a chance to leave their mark on a piece of Navy tradition.
As a young sailor on board USS Carl Vinson in the late 90s, Ensign Dustin Miller was assigned to deck department, and one of his duties was to help the boatswain's mate paint the Folksel.
So they were going to do a ceremony, and the bosun said he wanted to paint it a different color. The only three colors they had were haze gray, white, and blue. So he mixed them together, and this is the color he came up with, and they called it gun deck.
After a decade, the Folksel is getting its color back in honor of the original gun deck blue, and this generation of boatswain's mates are adding their own touch to the Folksel, with new patriotic stripes on the anchor chain and a battle E on the Wildcats.
So I guess it's just a bunch of history behind it, and I think it's great that they want to bring back some more of the history, because I know a lot of traditions are getting lost as we progress. And I like to bring back some of the more older traditions, hence me being in one of the older traditional rates.
This is just one way these sailors are honoring those who have walked the deck plates before them, as traditions are never forgotten. Reporting for the 70, I'm Seaman Kevin Harbach.
I'm just letting friends and family back home know that I have Facebook again and I'm doing all right. But we have to make sure that we don't give away any information that may hurt the mission or Facebook goes away. Petty Officer Eric Crosby explained several steps to ensure operational security is maintained so sailors can keep logging in.
Loose lips sink ships.
The benefits may outweigh at this particular moment the risks at hand.
The only way I can get hold of my family and my friend back home, beside email.
It's the most heavily used social networking site out there. Our enemies know that as well.
The cryptologists from enemy countries track you through social media, like Facebook.
Gives them a target, and that's what we're trying to prevent, is the lives of sailors becoming targets. We don't want that.
And that's done with operational security, or OPSEC.
Can't put where we're going, where we're at, just basic stuff, how you're doing. Nothing about the ship and nothing about operations of the mission.
With Facebook at the fingertips of every sailor, it's everyone's responsibility not to leak information that can harm the mission.
as a sailor, you just need to be very conscious of what you're saying to your loved ones, to your friends, anybody outside of this activity. You really need to think about, do you honestly need to say that? Do you need to, does your girlfriend, boyfriend, mom, dad, husband, wife, whatever, do they need to know where you're going to be at an exact time? And the answer is no for the most part.
And if you're not sure if your status gives away any vital information, contact the Command Security Manager. Reporting for the 70, I'm Petty Officer Eric Crosby.
One Navy tale states that the term crank was given to sailors working in the ship's mess because of a hand-turned crank mounted on the mast notifying the crew that it was time to eat. While reporting to a new command aboard a ship, many sailors are nervous about going cranking. Seaman Kevin Harbach shows us how being a food service attendant is an age-old tradition that sailors have been doing for generations.
I was wondering if, like what I did, like if I got in trouble or something.
Why do I have to crank, and I don't know, like what time do I start?
A few questions most sailors might ask when they're told they're becoming a food service attendant.
It's not as bad as it sounds. Usually if you got good structure, you got a good chief or whatnot, everything is smooth. I like it down here, actually.
For sailors coming from a shore command where civilians are paid to do the job, going cranking can be an eye-opening experience.
We have to do our own cleaning, our own cooking, our own management of our care. And this is just another way to tell them this is part of the team, part of the family that we are on a ship. A ship underway, especially on a Westpac or long deployment such as we're on, it brings the crew together as a family.
FSA duty gives sailors the chance to meet different people from the ship and gives them an understanding of operational requirements. Something Senior Chief Katadas would know, since he went cranking over 20 years ago.
It may seem a little bit like servitude, what have you, but I believe it strengthens and builds your character and also teaches you a little bit about etiquette and some of the things that are expected in a formal setting.
Reporting for the 70, I'm Seaman Kevin Harbach.
Hey, Carl Vinson. I'm MC3 Patrick Green, and it's time for your movie break. All right, this week I'm gonna hit you with two movies that involve a badass dude who kills a bunch of other dudes. We're gonna start with Casino Royale, the reboot of the James Bond franchise. And when I say reboot, I mean gone are the days of smooth talking men and martinis. And now we have a dude just punching dudes in the face, getting what he wants, when he wants it, and he will always get it every time. I recently stopped by the set to talk to Daniel Craig, but he never showed up. So let's check out a scene.
Hey, sweet ride, bro. You might want to slow down.
Can't a guy just lay down in the middle of a road in the middle of the night anymore?
It's a good thing I didn't get hit by that car because this would have all been messed up, and who doesn't love this, you know? But seriously, James Bond, Casino Royale, awesome movie. It basically reignited my love affair with the James Bond franchise. And if you didn't like it before, give this movie a shot. It might just convince you to watch more of it. And if you already like it, this will just make you love it even more. I give Casino Royale a 9 out of 10. Hey, what makes a good action movie? A cool dude killing a bunch of other bad dudes? Yeah, let's make him French and call the movie The Professional, which is the movie I'm actually gonna review right now. It's actually really convenient. It's Natalie Portman's first movie. She's 12. You know, you got a bunch of nice action scenes. You got Gary Oldman. You gotta love that guy. And it's a sweet-ass action movie where dudes just get messed up. I stopped by the set to check it out. So why don't you?
Dude, you know, I was like thinking, you know, it'd suck if he's like actually in this room, hanging out in the rafters, like gonna shoot all of us. Like that would, no bueno.
Ah! I hate being right! Oh, God!
Can somebody please hand me a weapon, a better weapon than this? I have a stick. This isn't ribbon dancing, this is a shootout. You know, getting shot in the chest is not as fun as they make it look in the movies. In fact, it kind of hurts. But you know what doesn't hurt? The Professional. That's right, it is an awesome movie. And just to watch a crazy French hitman kill a bunch of dudes in a crazy rampage, it's just something special. I give The Professional an 8 out of 10. I'm MC3 Patrick Green, and this was your movie break. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna take part in a music video. This is kind of weird. Okay, this is happening. Oh God. Oh God.
There's a famous old quote that says, "To know where you're going, you have to know where you've been." And during an African American History Month celebration, Carl Vinson sailors learned the sacrifices that were made to get us where we are today. Seaman Kevin Harbach was here for the AHOC Committee's performance in the ship's Folksel.
One of the goals of Vinson's American Heritage Observance Committee is to introduce our sailors to the value of diversity, while putting on a good show to demonstrate various cultural backgrounds.
The main role of this committee, AHOC, the American Heritage Observance Committee, is to educate. We want to educate, and we also want to entertain. Once you educate and entertain, it gives sailors a sense of belonging. It gives them a reprieve from the stresses of being on the ship.
And the AHOC did that by entertaining the crew, while they learned the importance of how African Americans helped shape America.
I hope the sailors is taking away the fact that you can still have fun, you can enjoy yourself, and you can educate at the same time.
And there is no doubt that sailors are taking these values to heart.
There's a lot of things out there I want to learn. I don't mind. I love learning. That's my thing, because it's about more. So, I mean, the more cultures I get to interact with and understand, the better person it makes me.
While the idea of diversity has been embraced by all facets of American society, its importance carries even more weight on a deployed ship like Carl Vinson.
Well, diversity strengthens the Navy. I mean, when we join the Navy, we come from different walks of life, different cultures and races. We all are forced to conform. We wear the same uniform. We march, we step up on the same foot. So when we're able to bring all of that diversity together, we can find different ways and various ways to solve problems and meet the mission.
If you're interested in being a part of AHOC, contact Chief Mitchell in legal or Chief Webster in dental. Reporting for the 70, I'm Seaman Kevin Harbach.
The Supply Corps just celebrated 216 years of providing mission-essential supplies that keep the Navy a global force for good. The supply officer, Commander Ken Epps, explains how the Supply Corps was established on February 23, 1775.
There's a guy by the name of Tench Francis, and he was the first purveyor of supplies. He was the precursor to today's Supply Corps officer, but we celebrate that day as our anniversary, and today is the 216th birthday.
And according to the Suppo, there's no better time to celebrate this special occasion.
I think there could be nothing more appropriate than to be out at sea in the middle of our first maiden deployment after RCOH to be able to celebrate the Supply Corps' birthday with all the warfighters here.
The Admiral, CO, and the XO were on hand as Supply cut the cake celebrating its birthday. Well, that does it for this edition of the 70. Until next time, I'm Petty Officer Matthew Herron.